This is an open letter to friends and relatives and neighbors and people I know. Here's the thing, I am not really married to any of my ideas. I'm not married to them. So I can change them as I see facts, I see new facts. I can change them as new facts become known to me. As more facts becomes known to me, I reserve the right to change my ideas because you know I don't have all the facts, and since I'm not getting paid for my ideas or for what I say, since I'm not being paid for my ideas, my opinions, therefore I do and can change my ideas um, from time to time when new facts become available. You see, those people who get paid for their ideas, they can't change their ideas. And the reason is basically because they have cashed the check. You know, all these donations and big number donations, when you donate, when you receive donations in large sums, you really can't change your ideas because you have stated some ideas, you receive the donation. Then if you change your ideas after receiving those donations, then you're not going to receive the next check in the next election. So politicians in a way are bound to whoever donates more to their campaign. So basically, so they can't change their mind. They can't say one thing, go into office and do another thing for their donors. They can't promise their donors one thing and then do another, i.e., change their mind, because the next check is not going to clear for the next election. So their politicians are sort of married to their ideals, married to their opinions, because, or else, they won't get the donation check. And it goes with a lot of other people who work for organizations, and usually organizations, corporations are such that you have to be in line with the political views of the owners, or their social views of the owner, or the political views of the owner, in order to stick around. If you don't, if you don't really, yeah, they say freedom this and freedom that, but if you don't really, play ball, uh, you're not going to play ball. Let's put it this way. If you're not going to play ball, you're not going to play ball. They're not going to let you play, period, in any corporation. So again, in one way or another, they marry you to an idea, to an opinion that, you may or may not agree with all the time, but you're married to it because you cashed a check for it. Whether from your boss, if you're an employee, or from the donors, if you're a politician. So, and a lot of rich people, in order to keep their position as being rich, and in order for them to be, acceptable in their own country clubs, they're also kind of married to their ideas. You see, if you're a rich uh, politician, you you basically are married to the idea, your opinions. You can't change them often because then you have to keep changing your donors, and the donors are not that much around, big donors, and they usually have the same opinion, more for rich people, less for the working class. And then the rich themselves also, in order to keep themselves rich and in order to be palatable in their country club for other patrons, they tend to not, you know, first have self-destructive opinions such as, yeah, maybe I should pay my my employees more so they can send their children to better schools, or they can make so the schools have more money to spend on the education of their kids. This idea doesn't go to the rich guy's mind, never, and will never will, both because it's against his own interest, and second also because it's, you know, his country club buddies are going to blackball him. So my point is this: almost everybody is married to their opinion, except you know the craftsmen or the self-employed people with low overhead. Those are the only one who can keep an independent opinion because, you know, they're not really, you know, here nor there, unless, you know, they're wrongfully accused of anything, something, and then, you know, shot or locked up. Or and frankly, all the founding fathers were uh, a kind of outcasts, all, or, you know, self-employed. All the founding fathers of in North America were self-employed. There were none of them are, you know, owners of really big corporations or employees of anybody. You know, that's a kind of guarantee that you need in order to have an opinion. If you don't have a boss to answer to or a country club to seek approval from. So the the craftsmen who made meager living on in independent uh, with an independent souls were the ones who came up with the idea of revolution. Believe me, the rich people, those who made it under King George of England, I don't. They were not revolutionaries. You know, those who make it, they don't want independence. They don't want this. They don't want that. Oh, fuck, they're making a good living, and this is the case everywhere. The same cases in the Middle East. The same cases in Africa, in South America, in Asia. Those who make it don't really are not really looking for any change. Whoever the fuck is the boss, it's good for me. So what do I care? But you know, the poor ones are seeking reasons for their poverty and misery. Therefore, once they find a reason for their poverty and misery, they would like to change it. And that's where the whole idea of revolution and all of that comes from. But the point is this. The point is this. If opinions bother you, if my opinion bothers you, which I give it freely because, you know, thank God I don't have to suck up to an employer and adopt his views as mine in order to be able to eat. You know, thank God for that. But the point is this: my opinions are based on the facts that I had come in contact with. Facts of, Wikipedia kind of facts. So if my and personal experience, fact that I came across in books and personal life experience. Now, if my ideas sound a little odd to you, sound somewhat odd, somewhat uh, disrespectful, somewhat, you know, somewhat not politically correct, somewhat politically incorrect, somewhat sexist, and somewhat racist, and somewhat, I don't leave anybody out. I I criticize the white race as just as much as I criticize the black race, as just as much as criticize the brown, my own race, and the yellow race, and they all have their own uh, shortcomings and their own attributes, positive and negative. So, and I haven't left anybody out in terms of criticism, and you know, so including my own race, you know. So, but look at it like this: look at me as the alien who has some facts, and based on those facts, has come to an opinion. Don't get offended by those opinions. All you have to do is provide different facts from reputable sources, and this alien is willing to change all his opinions. But as long as facts are provided that make some kind of, historical sense, chronological sense, you know, geographical sense, if some facts are provided that can draw a different picture, so I can draw a different conclusion, of course I will change my opinion. I'm not married to them because I'm not getting paid for them. I'm not married to my opinions because I'm not an employee, nor am I a politician, do I care to join a country club. Because of all these three, a poor man doing his thing over there, aching out a living, without an employee, I can have my opinions and share my opinions. Thank God for that. But and if you find my opinions, any of them, in contradiction to some facts that you are have you are you know of, please share those facts. I love to change my opinions, but please share those facts, and no media facts. We recently, with the recent decades, we have realized that media has been manipulating, all populations. It wasn't just the North Koreans being manipulated by their media. It's, people of Los Angeles are being manipulated by media, and people of, you know, Caracas are being manipulated by media, and people of Jeddah are being manipulated by their media. So it's a mouthpiece for the establishment. Media is a mouthpiece for the establishment. I mean, the son of a Vanderbilt is a speaker in one of these medias. How much more does the mouth of a establishment can it be? Can it show itself that not so wealthy son of a past establishment billionaire who owned half the country is now the mouth of the establishment. That's the Silver Surfer. I'm not sure his name, but the point is this: that Mr. Vanderbilt, something Vanderbilt. Anyway, but he doesn't go by Vanderbilt. He goes by something else. Anderson Cooper. My point is this: that media is the mouth of the establishment. All of them. Some are, mouth of this side of the establishment. Some are the mouthpiece of that side of establishment. All over the planet Earth. Whoever has been able to, you know, has been able to market territory and claim it. Whichever tribe has been able to market territory and claim it has this media. Sometimes it's well clear that it's a government run organization. Sometimes it's not clear. BBC is not really clear, you know, whether it speaks for government or not. I'm sure it does. But the point is this: it's just not, they're not getting paid by the government. But when the government knows where all the bodies are buried better than anybody, because they got a security agency and a secret agency and this agency and that agency, they know almost everything from everyone. Almost everything there is to know about me is known. There's nothing no, nothing new that the security agencies need to know because there is nothing else to know. So and it works for everybody. For fuck's sakes, in the age of pen and paper, the fucking the shithole that I was living in had this their secret services had a fucking folder on me, and I was a nobody. I am a nobody, but they had a fucking folder because I was, doing some uh, collecting some information on the street. That was their shit show was on the end of that street, so therefore they came and grabbed me and questioned me for, you know, on end. And as I said, even with them, those motherfuckers, I never stopped expressing my opinion. So apparently, I expressed my opinion to the security agency of that shithole a little too much, and apparently they put together a folder for me and everybody I was working, everybody I was working with in the office and my family, and everybody got a folder because because I shared my opinion a little too much. So I'm sure even over here, all these guys have some kind of folder on me. I'm okay with that. But the point is this: opinions for those people who are not paid for their opinions, like politicians, who and don't care to conform to to fit in their country club, like very wealthy people. Other people, independent people, can have independent opinions, and they are easily to persuadable if relevant facts or contradicting facts becomes available. Yeah, you change your opinions, no problem. I don't have any problem with that. But change my opinion, don't be offended by what I say. If you have facts that contradicts what my opinion is, please put it on the table. And when I say facts, I don't mean anecdotal facts. I don't mean, you know, my cousin's friend's cousin, like Nicki Minaj, I believe she was referring to somebody's cousin in Puerto Rico who's, his balls became big after the vaccine. Not those kind of facts. My cousin's friend in Puerto Rico. No, no. Real facts from dependable sources. If you have it, please put it on the table, share it, and I change my opinion. But there's no reason to be offended. Don't bring me anecdotal facts. Bring me real statistical facts. Put it on table, and I will change my opinion about anything and everything. Because I'm not married to them. There's no reason for me to be married to my opinions. But I have to see facts to change my opinions, just like any sane person would. Just like anybody who's not getting paid for their opinion wouldn't mind changing their opinions once relevant facts become available. I think changing opinions should be a routine thing, but as long as the intelligence is provided. And please don't tell me that no, this intelligence is very secret. Yeah, we have noticed all that intelligence, those intelligence that you keep telling us is very secret, that we can know, therefore certain decisions we don't understand because we haven't seen the intelligence. The reality is even that the intelligence that wasn't shared and actions were taken later became clear that those intelligence was bullshit. From the Steele dossier for Trump to those girls who were taken from Kuwaiti embassy and introduced to the members of media as nurses who ran away from Kuwait and straight to New York. And they just landed in New York and they had horror stories to tell you about what the Iraqi soldiers, how they broke into the incubators and threw the newborn babies on the floor. And this was the news that broke America's heart, and America went to war with Iraq. Americans, gave a go-ahead to go with Iraq because, the good guys, right? We don't stand any baby being thrown from the incubator onto the floor. We can't stand that unless they're Palestinian, unless they're brown or black. But then, the Kuwaitis were also brown. Anyway, the media is the mouthpiece of the establishment, which is catering to wars and, spending more money on wars and less money on education. And you can't tell me that that's going to produce a good results when you spend more money on wars than on education in your establishment. Never, it's not, never gives a good results. Period. Prove me wrong. Provide me with some facts, historical facts, that says any empire who went down this path found the Zion, found happiness, went down the path of spending more on arms and military than on education, health, and housing of its citizens. Show me one empire who went down that path, became more militarized, and succeeded. Succeeded in providing a decent life for its citizens. None. All empires through the history, when they went down the path of more territorial claims, but accepted the lower standard of living for their citizens because all their money was going to the army, the standard of living went down and the empire slowly faded away or abruptly faded away. I hope Uncle Sam's empires, a good Uncle Sam's empire sticks around for many centuries. But again, you have a good empire and you have a benevolent empire, but I'm sorry, my pink skinned brothers and sisters, you haven't been a benevolent empire. When you defeated, let's use that word, when you defeated, you thought defeated, but the Russians just gave up. Okay, let's say defeated, gave up, whatever you want to call it. When the Russians gave up, or as you say, defeated the Russians, you didn't stop there. It wasn't like, oh, okay, let's close down the missile factory and let's go to picnic. It wasn't like that. It was like, let's go kick some sand nigger ass. Wasn't that the case? Let's go kick some sand niggers, towel heads. Let's kick some of those asses. Those asses need kicking. They're terrorists, all of them. They're lowlifes. Shit. Muslims. Fuck. I was not a Muslim, but I happened to be living next to the Muslims. I got fucked too. So did millions and millions of other non-Muslims who have been living in these Muslim countries, and you fucked them and fucked everybody else who was living next to them. What's the point? My pink-skinned friends, you always have to be fighting. Remember that even they started using the word the pivot. Now we are pivoting from low-scale war, beating the crap out of the goat herders in the Middle East. Now we are pivoting towards big power rivalry. That's the correct decision. We are pivoting. So this gun never stops. Always has to be firing continuously. Do you see? Here is the thing, my friends. When I say I have had preview of different facts than you, I've seen different facts than you. This is what I'm saying, and all the rest of the planet is also seeing this. You don't really have to hear it from me. You know, go to YouTube channel, um, Austin School. There is a professor of history in Austin like Dallas, Houston, Austin School dot in YouTube, Austin School. He will tell you in a very entertaining manner. He will tell you the history. Based on that history, you understand that all these games have been played before. All these games that seem new to me and you, well, mostly to you, these games have been played before. The empires and the lying and the cheating and the greed and the, you know, mass murder. Fuck. Genocide. This all has taken before, and in fact, almost down the same patterns. I give you an example. It was very disturbing today. I saw Tucker Carlson interviewing this gentleman with a cowboy hat. He was a preacher's son. When I say preacher's son, I remember Dusty Springfield and the preacher's son. Very nice. Anyway, that's the word preacher's son comes in, has remained in my mind. But this gentleman was a real preacher's son, and he was himself half preacher, half-ass preacher. But the point is this: his real, I guess, his professional, he's a musician, and he's written this song, biblical song about Revelation and this and that, and very moving, and this and that and the other. Okay, fine. Somewhere in his description, in his uh, interview, he said something like this, along the lines of, when God said, be nice to your enemy, he meant be nice to your enemy, but not God's enemy. It's a very important phrase that he used. He said in Revelation, somewhere, said something about, to the effect that when God said be nice to thy enemy, he meant be nice to your enemy, don't be nice to God's enemy. And he stated an example about David and Goliath, and David was not nice to Goliath and fucked him up the ass. So therefore, because Goliath was enemy of God. Oh, folks, be careful. Be careful. Because um, that's wrong. Because all religions, you have used this concept of God's enemy as an enemy that you cannot forgive and you really have to kill for God to be happy for you. But the problem is then who defines who is God's enemy? You see? You may pick your enemy and tell me that your enemy is God's enemy. Whoever is in charge can introduce an enemy as not his enemy, but God's enemy that you should fight. And this has been the language that has been used to commit genocide, for example, in North America. That all these savages are God's enemy. None of them are Christian. All those savages over there are also God's enemy. None of them are Christian. Oh, fuck. You see where I'm going with this? This language of no, we don't have to be nice to all enemies. We only can be nice to our enemy, but we don't have to be nice to God's enemies. Here's the thing. That's basically advocating for this. They're saying that he is advocating for, be civil to your neighbor, but you don't need to be civil to the other tribe. Be civil to your neighbor, but you don't need to be civil towards the other tribe, because that tribe is the enemy of God. They're not really our enemy, but they're the enemy of God. Who gets to pick that? Who gets to make that choice that who's the enemy of God and who's not? Dude, from a country that was run in a as a theocracy. I come from a country that was run as a theocracy. All these shitholes in the Middle East, including Israel, are run on a theocracy, based on a theocracy, based on some religious fundamentals, including Israel, all of them. And in those, or in all of them, the enemy of the state is always introduced as enemy of God. The enemy of the state is always introduced to the people as enemy of God. Well, fuck no. Oh no, you don't get to pick. We who are in charge get to pick who's the enemy of God. That's a dangerous path to go down through. When you say rules of war do not apply because these people are enemy of God, that's genocide right there. Because genocide against the enemies of God is somewhat permitted. It's not really prohibited. They're enemy of God. They're not my enemy. They're enemy of God. Who said so? My statement told me. So no, bad idea. Bad idea. No, be nice to all your enemies, all your perceived enemies, because none of these are actually your enemies. They have been literally drawn as an enemy for you. You have to hate this that I draw with a towel on his head. This is an enemy. Well, this was sitting in that shithole, in his shithole. He wasn't in your living room until you went to his shithole. You bombed the shit out of his neighborhood. He had to pluck his family and move to your shithole. And now you don't like it. You say, why is this motherfucker in my shithole? He's supposed to be in his shithole. Well, your government declared that his shithole as the enemy of God shithole. They went and bombed his shithole and they made this motherfucker into a refugee. Any questions? And I'm sorry, when you start introducing your enemies, or you give the right to the state to declare the state's enemy as enemy of God, that's exactly the way shit show was in the shithole that I came out of. Because at any point you could be declared as enemy of God. If the rulers didn't like you, didn't like the cut of your jib, for whatever reason, all they had to do is declare you the enemy of God. Although you're not an enemy of God, you don't even recognize the existence of God. Doesn't matter. The state has recognized you as the enemy of state, and but then called you the enemy of God for the sake of public consumption. And then you have a shit show. And then you have, the shit show that I left. The shit show that I left, and I left for this specific reason. As at any moment, the state can declare anybody the enemy of God. That's what happens when you give the government to the clergy. Or, very Christy, that's what happens when you give government to George W. Bush. He thinks he's on a fucking crusade from 2,000 years ago. Gotta go teach those brown motherfuckers a lesson. This land belongs to us, Europeans. Although it's in Asia, but it belongs to us, Europeans, or people of European descent. Okay. And we're going to save them because they treat their women badly. Have you seen what they force women to go through in these porn videos? What to endure in these porn videos? I know it's by choice because she needs to eat and she needs to get paid, so they force her in all kinds of unnatural activities, which like everybody else, I have also watched, and some really crazy, nasty activity, and you're like, who the fuck is willing to do that? Then you realize it's all it's money. It's money. And she's supposed to be independent, and she's supposed to be strong-minded and strong-willed and be a porn star and do all kinds of participate in all kinds of nasty shit. And I'm sorry, you said something about you know under that hijab they're degrading women. You can't begin to define the word degrading until you watch some of these crazy, disgusting porns that is available. That they force people to participate. Force, not force. Pay people to participate in. Some, again, my life experience tells me this is a little, this is mistreating your women, not covering them up, which in the Middle East you should cover up, because or else you burn under that fucking sun. No, it's just, folks. If you hear an odd thing I say, first of all, I could be wrong. I'm not declaring anywhere that I am right and I am married to this idea and that's that. No, I'm not declaring that. I could be wrong all the time. I am often wrong. I take it right off the bat that I am often wrong. Whatever you hear from me, don't get offended. Research it and I would be thankful if you can provide me with a link. You don't even have to type anything or state your opinion. You can provide me a link at the bottom that to a reputable website or a page that provides accurate and contradicting information. Then I will easily change my opinion overnight, the next day, if I can be convinced with the facts from a reputable source that facts are different from what I have known. If you provide that, of course I change my opinion. This goes for my FBI minders and the CIA minders and Mossad minders and the that those shit shows in the Middle East minders who are watching me on the internet. You're all fine and fine people, but if somewhere you hear something you disagree with, you're offended, provide me the facts that contradicts my opinion. I will change it tomorrow, within a day. You don't need to be offended, or you don't need to. Here's the thing: how I know I have offended many people. When I look at when people block you, when people block you don't get a notice that such and such has blocked you on Twitter or X. When people block you, they block you, and you don't get a notice. But then once in a while, you remember that yeah, such and such a guy. I want to go to his page and see what his opinion about this matter, and then only then you find out you have been blocked. And I've had some very interesting surprises that the people who have blocked me are, cover the whole array, from the Arabs to the Indians to the Persians to the Egyptians, to the Europeans and North Americans who have blocked me on Twitter, and people with far and wide opinions have blocked me, and I'm like, wow, if you can offend 360-degree array of people, if you can offend so many at the same time, that's some kind of a achievement, I think. A right step in the direction of getting shot. Anyway, so nobody needs to get offended. Provide, but wherever I said, whatever I said that you don't agree, if you can find a piece of fact that shows that my opinion is wrong, again, not anecdotal facts, statistical facts, that I am wrong in one case or another, I will change it overnight. And I thank you for setting me right, setting me in the right direction. Alas, without that, without those relevant facts that are needed for me to change my opinion, then, please don't get offended, don't feel offended. Just either ignore me, ignore what I have to say, or, you know, at least don't get offended. Because, we are not children here, we are adults. If I say something you don't agree, you think it's something else, go read the history, go read the relevant facts in Wikipedia and other reputable internet pages, and if you change your mind, change your mind. But if you feel that I was wrong and you come across some facts that shows that I was wrong, please share it with me and I will change my opinion. But getting offended because of an opinion, it's just, childish. You know, because then you're forcing each other not to speak. And you can't really function in a democracy if you don't speak with your neighbor, with your mailman, with your representative, in your municipality council, in your school. If you don't speak in order to not offend people, then you're going to be a nation of mute people who are, in a very quiet manner, are following a leader who may not know where he's going, and everybody in a mute manner falls down the same cliff, following the same leader, because nobody shares their opinion, because everybody is worried about offending other people. No, share opinion, but make sure that opinion is based on some facts that nobody can refute. If your opinion is based on facts that you can find from reputable sources, if those opinions are based on facts that come from reputable sources, please share your opinion. Love to hear it. And you hear mine. Nothing to be offended. It's just people trying to make sense of available facts. Opinion is basically people trying to make sense of available facts. Now, facts don't change, people's perspective change. If you're holding the bayonet and I'm on the receiving end of the bayonet, our perspectives changes the story. Yes. But the facts remains the same. If your bayonet goes up my ass, that's a fact. If the British invaded and slaughtered half the planet Earth, that's a fact. You see what I'm saying? If Europeans went across the planet in a race to kill as many they can and rob as many they can. This is a fact about European empire, the British, the French empire across the planet. British, French, and the Spanish Empire across it. That's a fact. Now, opinions, we have some opinions who say, that was the right thing to do because, they were more advanced, so they had the right to, you know, they had to, they had the right to exterminate the less advanced races on this planet. Just like they had the right to exterminate, the elephants in Africa, and the dodos and the this and that, and totally wipe them out because they were more advanced. That's the same logic. And remember this, for example, Mr. Churchill, who went big game hunting in a quest to exterminate all the elephants and giraffes in Africa. In that quest, he had that view and he went on that quest, and he also had the same feeling about other human beings on earth, which says if you're less than me, I'm willing to you know exterminate all of you because if you're less than me. And he had the same opinion that he had, Mr. Churchill, and the rest of the pink skin society in Europe. They had the same opinion that they had about the animals in Africa and their own countries as they had about the people in Africa. Sort of like, if you're going to be useful to me, you stay alive. If you're not going to be useful to me, I'm going to kill you. You're dead. Yeah, I had this argument with some guy on Facebook some time ago. I'm no longer on Facebook, but I had this argument with the guy on Facebook, and he said, "Yeah, but we the British were not the only ones who were slaughtering so many people. It slaughtered so many people in our history across the planet. Oh, the Mongols were worse than us. The Mongol Genghis Khan from the Mongol Empire." To which I had to reply that, mm, dear, if you have to compare yourself with the Mongols to feel better, then you lost the game already. You lost the argument. When you start comparing yourself to the Mongols to feel better, you're done there at that point. So my point is this: these are facts. 110 million Redskins in North America finished. There were 110 million. Now it's like 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 Redskins. I don't know, somewhere around there, very small. A sample of population has remained. So this is fact. Europeans and people of European descent went to East Asia, did the same under some other pretext. This time, in this pretext, they were defending against some kind of economic ideas that they didn't agree with. And then it's about that became about democracy and freedom, and their form of government is better than the natives' form of government, so the natives should, they have to go fight the natives so they can offer the natives the white people's form of government. And now it's back to the Bible, back to the religious book, and now we gotta have some kind of a you know biblical engagement with the rest of the world. There is never any stop to wars in between your species. It's like never. It's never stop. Like the general said, it just pivots. And What's the point of reproducing when you so willy-nilly destroy so much of your reproduction, your own reproduction? What's the point of reproducing? And when I say destroying your reproduction, I don't mean just in terms of, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Europe, in Ukraine. No, I'm talking about, not educating the children is destroying the production, destroying the reproduction. Not housing average people, not worrying about the housing and the general welfare of average people, that's destroying your production. Health, obviously, is destroying your production. Not paying attention, not providing good health care, you're destroying your own production. You see where I'm going with this? So in all around, you're destroying your production, but at the same time, you keep going on and on about reproduce. Everybody has to reproduce. Reproduce for what? So you can destroy? By not educating, by not housing, by not providing healthcare, by going to war, killing both sides. Reproduction for what? For this bullshit? Thank you very much. Everything is fine. No need for reproduction. Me reproduce so you can have meat for your meat grinder? No, thank you very much.